Hey everyone, welcome to your BTC SOL daily update. It's a prime day, so we've only got a 1 day close as per TradingView today. We do have, though, a 2 day exchange native close, which is slightly different structure, which you can see if you look at some of the charts as they get displayed on the exchanges, which can be a little bit different sometimes to what actually gets displayed in TradingView. So we'll look at that. So for now, let's have a look at liquidity. So 1 day, we've got liquidity there up to about 14K or 14 and a half, and then down into that 9 area. We should be heading down to 9, just because there was a short triggered, which hasn't quite gone to its target yet. So I think based on the 1 day liquidity, we're probably looking at some kind of pullback to around that 9K again, and then maybe after that we'll get a bounce, because we do have a couple of longs too that should take us up to around 115 and 117. So but at the moment we're rejecting off that 12, so I think it was like a 112,459 figure that we spoke about yesterday. As for SOL on the 1 day, a little bit more to the downside, and SOL should be retracing at the moment down to around 200 or 199.4, I think, as about a minimum retracement on the daily, or I think about 200 based on the 12 hour. So we should hopefully take that big spike of liquidity there. If we have a look at the 7 day, they really need to push the price up on Bitcoin, because people are starting to get a bit bearish with how bad the price action's been. So, but if they were to push it up to that 114, 115 area, they'd take all that liquidity there for those people that sort of have gone bearish a little bit late. And likewise, you've got 108 down to 107 to the downside. The 7 day on SOL has got some liquidity up to about 216, and there is that 2 day exchange native close that could happen today if we close over a certain price, has a target of 215.9. So I'm just looking at that 7 day liquidity and thinking they might actually just sneak a little pump today, and people won't see it coming. It won't show up on TradingView. It's not going to be structurally the kind of thing you'll notice, and then the price could just bounce up to there to take that liquidity. And the other side of that scale is liquidity at 199.9, quite a big spike there, and that meets the daily obligation. But we're kind of running out of time. You've almost, to actually get the pump to the upside, we've got to close over about 204, but to take the liquidity to the downside, we've got to be down there at 199. So whether they close up, dip down, spike up, is possibly it. But if they go down now, they've got to get back up before close. Otherwise, they're not going to trigger that long. So that's what 7 days showing us. And if we go to 30 day, yeah, real bullish on SOL, and people are really bearish on Bitcoin is basically all it's telling us. 120K, if they take that out, they've taken most of that topside liquidity on BTC, and down to about 108, 107. If they wanted to spike up, still that liquidity stops at about the 217 sort of mark on SOL. So I think the liquidity is being geared up for that 2 day move to take place. If they were to drop, it's really a long way down now to actually get to something decent. You've got a pile there at about the 190s, 194, that sort of area. But really, to get to that next solid chunk of liquidations, you're down to the 170s, and the 170s are proving harder and harder to get to the more time we spend up high. So that's where liquidity's at. Let's just have a quick look at how that's gone, short term, long term. So yeah, short term 117 K again. So these are moves in play. They're just really, there's just no point running off to those levels yet, unless there's more liquidity there to execute the orders into. So and down to sort of 105. So and then on SOL, yeah, up to about 219, and down to 183. There's quite a bit there to the downside, but the upside, like I say, the people are just so bullish on SOL right now. It really needs to go down so that people get a bit more bearish on it, so that they actually get that liquidity they need to push up. But So that's where we're at with that. Let's have a look at these charts. It's not going to be a lot given we've only got 1 day close. So SOL BTC Strength, it's in a great place. It's up above trend. It could pull back, by the end of the day, but where it is now is just brilliant. So if it stays over that 17933 for the rest of the day, then it's back inside this uptrend. It's over top of the daily resistance trend. We just need one more day of accumulation to hard close that, and then it can take off. If we have a look at dominance of safety assets, we're still just hovering around under trend, so it's not a bad place to be. It's not it's not diving down to the ground either, which would be lovely, but as long as we don't get back over that trend, we're good. So as long as we stay under that 64.76 mark, we're good. What we really want is we want to see it break down below that 64.14 mark, and then take the next step down into the 62, 63 area. So Bitcoin. So Bitcoin may move its support trend on the daily today. So yeah, if it closes blue, really it's all just down to not a lot of money really. Like what do we got? If we close over 111,700, then it's really just a nothing. It creates an accumulation range. It doesn't break the downtrend. It just doesn't do anything really if it closes there. If we close under that, then we have a distribution candle, and it comes down to really how long that wick is as to the difference that actually makes. But what would happen, say in its current state, is the support trend would move to there, and that would give us a support trend at about 110,400, 110,500. But I think it will dive that trend just based on the structure. If it doesn't do it before close, it will probably dive down anyway after close and then bounce back up in the next day or so. So yeah, so if it closes up, means nothing. If it closes down, we move our support trend. The most bearish thing that could happen is that the candle actually comes right down and closes with a flat bottom. It could open on the underside of it and reject off it, and then you'd expect probably a deeper, faster pullback. So but that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. Let's have a look at SOL. Yeah, so SOL's doing its pullback, so this is what we're expecting. So based on the daily, we should, if we don't close above this trend, because that could change things. If we close above this trend, it could just hit the trend and bounce. But if we close below the trend or pull back before the end of the day, we should be heading down to this sort of 199 area. Although this is just a single candle, so it's better to view this from a target perspective. You're better to look at it as a proper range. So we've got 2 candles on the 12-hour. We've got a whole candle here. So the target would be around 200, basically, almost to the dollar. We haven't hit the break level up here yet, at 213.640. So yeah, we're still just inside this whole candle, and we're just pulling back from there. So I'm sort of expecting it to come back down to here, and that's a short. I got stopped out the first time in it, but managed to get back in up higher, so it's looking good. And that's pretty much all we've got for that. Now, this is the one that is intriguing. So when you look at this on an exchange's own charting application, what you'll see is you'll see a 2-day candle, which actually in some cases with some exchanges closes today. And it doesn't close today on TradingView because they anchor their multi-day timeframes differently sometimes. But if the 2-day candle closes above 204.235, then we could get a bounce from this up to this 215 level, 215.9, and that seems pretty confluent with taking out that upper liquidity cluster that we have on the 7-day there. So I'm just watching to see how this closes. So if you look at a 2-day on, so I've just drawn those rectangles on there so you get an idea of what the candles look like. Obviously this is, it follows this one, but if it closes up above this, that's when we can get that engulfment in that move. Now on TradingView, when you look at this, that's what we see, which is different. So we see that there's a day to go on it, and we see the candles are totally different. But yeah, that's because they anchor at different times. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and just really looking to see, do we hit our daily target on that short down around 200, or do we end up closing up above the trend, in which case it's just a case of cut the short, don't take the risk because it could just bounce off the trend. And aside from that, do we actually close over 204.235? And if we do, we might need to look at taking out a swing position up to 215, which could play out relatively quickly. There's nothing really to stop it, so we'll see how that one pans out. And that's actually all there is for today. It's no other 10 different time frames to look at, so but just a couple of key levels. We're currently short, and looking that maybe we cut it and maybe we go long based on close. So yeah, take care and trade well. Catch you later.